Hello everybody, this is Bird Brain, where here we are nerdy for the birdies. So the Eagles lost to the Denver Broncos 21-17. I was present for this game, and we're going to talk about it. And I'm not going to do the typical offense, defense, special teams breakdown. I got two things I want to talk about. A minor thing and the major overarching thing. So let's get into it. And the first thing I want to talk about is the officiating in this game. I thought there was some really bad officiating in this game on both sides, and I've seen people bring up like, oh, well, the refs missed flags, on the Eagles last week and other points in the season, and they're 100% right. They have missed flags on us before, right? But the things that they are calling in pivotal situations that affect the outcomes of games, it was some really bad officiating. I mean, I still don't even fully understand how the intentional grounding got picked up without any explanation. I mean, in the stadium, they just picked it up. They didn't say anything. They just moved them up. No explanation, nothing. And everyone's confused. I mean, I had no understanding of what even happened with the Zach Bond penalty because I didn't see it. On the Goddard penalty especially, or not the lack of a penalty at the end of the game where Goddard was looking for pass interference. And the problem is that on that play, like, okay, fine, you're not going to call pass interference. The guy's in Goddard's face giving him the thumbs down and sticking his tongue out. And look, I think taunting is a stupid-ass penalty. Like, I'll say that up front. But that is the definition of taunting, and they didn't call it, and I don't know why. So, I don't know, I thought officiating was bad. But I'm not using it as an excuse. I just wanted to point out the fact that it was poor in this game. Because the fact of the matter is, when you play in games that you let officiating decide what happens in those games, you did not do enough to win. And I think most of us can agree with that. I came to this conclusion after this game. And as much as I want to yell at the offense or the defense or whomever, I'm going to yell at one person here. I'm going to blame Nick Sirianni for this loss. Because this game made me really reflect on something. And really, it comes down to this: what exactly is it that you do here? Type question, right? It's that. And the reason why I'm asking, number one, so you're the CEO coach, and CEO coaches usually oversee the team, they uphold standards, fundamentals, they keep the culture, they're usually situationally aware and stuff like that. The teams are too. I just feel like this team isn't locked in all the way, or situationally aware, or all these other things, and I feel like it kind of starts with Nick, how he leads his staff. Let's start with Patullo under this category, right? We knew last year when Kellen Moore was gonna move on, and we all knew the second we hired him that he was likely gonna get a job elsewhere afterwards, that we should have been grooming for an OC. Look, a lot of people say we should have gone outside the organization. At that point in the season, you don't really have great options. So I understood why they stayed in an organization, and they're not the first team to do that. We've seen the Rams do it time and time again. We've seen the 49ers do it time and time again, where they find guys in the organization to continually build out their staff, and they develop them, and they kind of just keep moving down their own coaching pipelines. On the flip side, right, the Eagles, the two times that they have had internal promotions for the offensive coordinator job, they have not gone well. Let's just call a spade a spade. And it's frustrating. Like, there are times where I think Patullo does have nice design for plays and there are things that work, but I just don't think he understands the game flow and sequencing and understanding how to balance an offense. Because they went from like two extremes of, oh, we don't throw the ball enough to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, we're not throwing it enough to, okay, we're going to spam the passing game and we're just going to completely abandon Saquon. And Saquon gets 6 carries. And at some point, like, Nick, if you're watching this happen, realizing, hey, we're up 17-3 and we're not running the ball, we got to fix that. And look, the run game has not been there this year. The offensive line has not been good. I think the play calling hasn't been good, and the execution by players hasn't been good. But that all falls under Nick. It is his job to get his guys ready on game day. In terms of the culture aspect of this team, look at the situation last week. You got your star wide receiver, cryptically, in quotes, tweeting about the team. Now that creates a media stir. And it's a bad look. And you talk about, there's a lot of conversation around AJ's relationship with Jalen and whether or not it affects the team or not. And I'm not going to sit here and shit on AJ or anything like that, or Jalen, because I don't know who started it or what happened here. But Nick, as the head coach, it is your responsibility to get these guys on lockstep, because they've been off all year, throwing to each other. And it's not a one-off thing from this game. It wasn't a one-off thing from last year. I mean, outside of one half of a game in the entire season, AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts just haven't been in sync. I don't know why. Now, I know AJ missed time in camp, but that's really no excuse. You've been throwing to each other for 4 years. I mean, do you see Joe Burrow struggling when healthy to throw to Jamar Chase at any point in time? Or Josh Allen throwing to Khalil Shakir? Or, Jared Goff throwing to Amon-Ra St. Brown? Or Matthew Stafford throwing to Puka Nacua? Like, it's not that. Like, these guys have it locked down. I don't need Jalen and AJ to be best friends, but they need to figure out they shit. Because it affects everything. Because it feels like when all else fails, we have that, and that's not even there anymore. And I feel like that falls on Nick. You have to cultivate a culture where we don't have receivers doing this stuff, and all of this can stay in-house, and they can have these conversations. I'm not saying it's Nick's... I'm not saying that what AJ did was I'm not saying AJ's a bad person. I'm saying it is Nick's responsibility to prevent stuff like that from happening in future. And I think that's the frustrating thing. And then just in terms of fundamentals... I mean, penalties and just mistakes at crucial moments. I mean, the offense is struggling in the second half. They get to fourth down. Jalen makes an amazing throw to Devontae Smith, and it's called back for illegal shift. What are we doing? Legitimately, what are we doing? It just feels like on defense, at like the most inopportune times, someone's taunting, and it kind of gets on my nerves. When taunting's such an emphasis and so many times guys get called for it. I don't think it happened today, but it's happened in other weeks. And it's like, I think about that clip of Nick and Baker Mayfield going back and forth. And it's like, set an example. Read the room. Like, be a bigger person. Like, Nick's the only coach I really see going back and forth with opposing teams' players. So, I really don't know what to say. I'm not saying the Eagles need to fire Nick Sirianni, that's insane, but he's got to really figure out what his role is and really step up, or this team's going to lose a lot more games. He's in charge of all of this. He oversees all of this. He approved of this product going into the season, and I think it's a shame that, this is the problems that we have. In my personal opinion, when it comes to the OC, I think we got to have a conversation about Patullo not calling plays anymore. I mean, it was around this time that Nick Sirianni stepped down and they brought in Steichen. I think we may have to have the same conversation. If that were to happen, I think it would be Parks Frazier, but that's on Nick, realizing what this team needs. Because I've seen people say it's early. It's week 5. If you don't have your shit together now, when are you going to have your shit together? You got to figure it out at some point. You don't have a lot of time because you only get 17 games. You've wasted your first 5 fucking around, and you're fortunate to be 4-1. You're fortunate to be 4-1. But yeah, I mean, even though the Eagles lost, if I were to do a player of the game, it'd be Devontae Smith. I thought he had a really nice showing today. Could have had even more yards than he actually finished with. He could have almost like 200 or something. But point is, it's hard to reward players in games where they simply... It's hard to really reward players in games like this because it's a team failure. The offense failed, the defense failed, everyone failed. And when this happens, you gotta blame the head coach. So, hoping now that from this point in the season onwards, Nick steps up and becomes the head coach that we know he can be for this team. Anyways, this has been Bird Brain. Hope you guys enjoyed being nerdy today. Fly Eagles fly. See you around.